Hello there and welcome to GatheringPoint Church Online. My name is Matt and I'm one of the folks on the team at GP and so glad that you have joined together with us today. It's been an amazing week around here. It's felt so good to have the Friendship Festival back in Bourbonnais, and of course we needed rain, so whenever you put the Friendship Festival on the calendar, of course you get rain, and so we got rain and we had the Friendship Festival, and it just kind of felt like there were some awesome things happening. It kind of felt like there's a little bit of life coming back. And it's exciting to feel that way. And that's happening here at the church as well. As we continue to move forward throughout the summer, we begin to provide more and more opportunities for you to be a part and connected at Gathering Point. So we are open. If you haven't joined with us in person in a long time, we would love to invite you back and be a part of our services inside the room. Our Wambaland and GP Kids environments are open for your kiddos, and we would love to see them there. So check us out at 9 a.m. or 10:30 live in person if you'd like to. But since you're at home this morning or on the go or in the car listening to us, we just want to say we're so glad that you have chosen to spend a few minutes together with us today. And it's our prayer and our hope that when you finish this time, you'll feel closer and more connected to God. Hope you have a great week, and thanks for joining us today.
Sometimes the reason of why we believe or have faith maybe isn't as clear as we wished it was. I mean, like we know we believe, but if someone's asked us why we believe, that's when things begin to get a little bit specific because we start using words like, well, and then there's like Jesus, and I like to go to church, and we begin to kind of add words and try to come up with ways and we kind of get away from it and we go, man, I wish I had been more clear. I just wasn't able to explain it the way that I wanted to. And we need a focused answer or a reason to the question of why we've chosen to follow Jesus and the difference that Jesus makes in our lives. And we need that to kind of be a part so that we can explain what's essential to us in our faith. But somehow, when we start thinking about the essentials of our faith, we get off track. And someone says, well, tell me about the Bible and why do you believe? And tell me why you believe those things. And we start in and we have the best of intentions. And then we start talking about Noah. And then there was a guy that had a Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I got asked one time, somebody said, hey, do you know if Jesus' dad gave Jesus the Technicolor Dreamcoat? And I went, I don't understand. His dad's Joseph, right? And I was like, oh, there's two Josephs in the Bible. And they're like, oh, two Josephs. How do you keep this all straight? And you're like, I know, I get it. It's complex. It's complicated. And then you start talking about this. And then there was a guy, David. He was king. But before he was king, he was throwing rocks at another guy's head because he was so tall. And then that didn't go well. And then Jesus rose from the dead. And then the Apostle Paul and Peter, they came. But then they stoned Stephen, but not that kind of stone. It was a different kind of stone. It was with rocks. And then all these things happen. And so do you want to believe? Right? And we just kind of vomit all these words and things that make sense to us, but it's like the other person's looking at us going, you are nuts. I mean, you're just crazy. I can't even believe you do that. And then to make matters worse, every now and again, you meet somebody who is a little bit interested, maybe, and they actually have some questions, and you talk, and you're not wanting to make it complicated, but somehow it is. And you just sort of shrug your shoulders and go, I don't know. I just sort of believe. So I want to take a little shot, and what we've been doing is we've been looking at this ex-businessman, and I love businessmen because they're so clear. In fact, in September, we're going to have a conference here for business people, and we've got Andy Standy, Patrick Lencioni, and Storybrand guy who is already ready to come, and they'll be doing a live simulcast here in September, and we're excited about that. But before we do that, Donald Miller, that's the other one I was looking for, Donald Miller. Before we do that, I love businessmen because they're so clear. They don't beat around the bush. They have a point, they have an objective, they're numbers driven, and if you don't know your numbers, you have no idea how you're doing. If you can't track and perform, you have no idea. And so this is what an ex-business person turned disciple and ultimately became the first pope, as we look at this in retrospect, this is what he said that all Christians need to do. He says, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to give an answer. You need to be able to defend why you do what you do. You need to be able to defend the mission statement. You need to be able to concisely and clearly explain to everyone who asks you, you need to be able to give a reason, not 100. Well, and then my grandma, and then my dad, and then, well, and that because, and then in 4th grade, I went to a camp. No. Give a reason for the hope that you have. You need to clearly be able to give a reason to be able to defend your decision for faith. And Peter gave his answer and he says, I saw some incredible things. I was a part of amazing things with Jesus, but I got to be honest with you. Even though I was an eyewitness to so much of it, when it came time, when I thought Jesus was dead, I didn't follow through and I was like, man, I got suckered. I just got suckered. But then I saw him after he rose from the dead. And this is the reason why I'm a Christian. It's because of the resurrection. So Peter, you're telling me that you're a Christian because of the resurrection. He's absolutely. I can't unsee that. He was dead. I saw him like dead, not like hurt real bad. He was dead. And then he rose from the dead and I saw it. So that's your reason. Yes, I followed Jesus because of the resurrection. What about all the miracles and all this stuff? And how come he healed this person and not be? It doesn't matter to me. He rose from the dead. I'll go wherever he says and I'll do whatever he called me to do. So clear, so concise. One word, resurrection. And so, what if the issue of your faith has nothing to do with like defending or being focused, but what if your faith is challenged, right? And you haven't been focusing on the right things in your faith? Because so many people get focused on their behavior, right? People that get all kinds of focus on your behavior. If you're a parent, most likely the biggest thing you say, what do you want for your kids? Oh, I want my kids to have faith. But really, you're lying. Really, you just want them to behave right? Clean their room, brush their teeth. And if they're a Christian, great. But I'm really more interested in behavior. I want them to have good behavior, and so you do as well. And so you monitor these things. You monitor their behavior. You monitor their church attendance. And, oh, you should go. And I don't want to go. Well, you should. And you monitor yourself, whether or not you're being good. And then you kind of, when you get older, you're also monitoring your pain or your past pain or what happened to you in your past. And maybe that's where your faith sort of stalled out because you wanted to focus on Jesus. But most Christians I know have like faith ADD. Hey, why don't you focus on Jesus? I am. Oh, that looks interesting. Oh, this is interesting. I got some time here. Let me scroll a little bit. And it's like we just can't seem to keep our focus. And when we can't keep our focus, things begin to lose the clarity that we once had. And I want you to know that the reason that Gathering Point exists is not to give you something to do. It's not just to come and listen to good music or have a speech and that's like, oh, that's interesting. It's never designed to be interesting to give you something to think about. Ultimately, we do not exist for the entertainment of your children or for them to have something to do or have activities. And truthfully, those are nice to have when we're able to do those, but activities will not transform your life. That is not why we exist. Our goal and the reason that we exist is to help you find Jesus. Not talk about Jesus, not just sing about Jesus. We literally want you to find Jesus. So I've been talking about the staff about this for a while. Essentially, we've had a little tough string at our house here recently, and for reasons that I'm not going to get into, we've seen a lot of doctor's offices lately, like a lot, for just about every crazy reason you can think of. And the church is kind of like a doctor's office, except for this fact. We're all like, including me, we're all like receptionists at the doctor's office, right? And the receptionist's job is to what? Get you to where? The receptionist's job is to get you to see the doctor. We as a church want to get you to see the doctor. And honestly, I got to be honest, some people, our goal isn't to create a system and a structure that helps you, ultimately see the doctor. If you only stay in the waiting room, we've not done any help for you. Or if you get in the exam room And maybe you've been in the exam room for a long time. Trust me, I know how that is. And you're waiting, or you're in the lobby and you're waiting. You go, wasn't that good? Man, they had the best magazines there. Oh, it was so interesting. And then I was watching talk shows. I never watch talk shows. So I go to the doctor's office and I sit there and I go, that was something. That was interesting. If you went to the doctor's office, but you only stayed in the lobby, or you only went to the exam room and you never saw the doctor, you will not experience any transformation in your life. And some of you may have been coming here for a long time, or you've been watching for a long time, and you keep telling everybody, hey, I'm going to come, or come back, or we're watching online. I mean, I know what that means. It means you watched online from sometime between the start of the pandemic till now. I understand what that means. I get that. But maybe you're just sitting in the lobby and sitting in the exam room, but we want to get you beyond that, because we want to get you to see the doctor, because I promise you, no matter how interesting you think it is, what we talk about here, no matter how good you think the music is, that will not transform your life. It may be interesting, it may be engaging, but it will not transform your life until you get to see the doctor. So today, you don't need to hear from me, you don't need to sing from the band. Here's what I know about you, because it's true about me as well. You need to connect with God. Because isn't it true? Have you ever wondered, am I missing it? Am I missing something? Is there something I'm missing in my faith? I mean, like, maybe I'm not doing faith right, or maybe I'm missing a part because it kind of seems dull. It kind of seems like I'm doing my part, but it doesn't. And it's crazy you think about, like, the God of the universe, who created nitrogen and flowers and galaxies and, like, E minor, right? The God of the universe, who has all of these things, loves us with a radical, unconditional, self-sacrificing love. And we just kind of show up and go, well, that was nice. That was good. I like that. And we just kind of sing songs and go about our business and hope my kids liked it and all that kind of stuff. But God's church, the church of the first century, was a radical, spiritually intimate gathering of believers that they ultimately changed history, not because they could defend something, not because they were interesting, or not because their songs were better than everybody else's songs. It was because other people witnessed the way that they lived and said, something's happened to those people because I used to know them and they're different. The problem is, for many of us, is we've just been in the lobby and the waiting room and nothing has really changed. In fact, we've just wanted God to bless the way that we're already living rather than have God change us. And that's not how the church spread. And I think millions, and not just you, but millions across America are content to just be observers at church. And then they often leave and are cynical and brokenhearted, and especially in this post-pandemic world, I kind of get the sense that God's sort of waking up his church and going, hey, we didn't just make it. We're created for something more than this, to be a dynamic, life-changing force in the world, and I think he wants to start with your life and with my life. And so these so-called Christians that they were talked about in Acts chapter 11, these so-called Christians, they weren't even called that. And you have Barnabas, and he went down to Tarsus, and he went to Saul. And then this is what they found him. In verse 26, they said, and when they found him, he brought him to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers. And this is the first time we even see the word in the entire New Testament. And the disciples were called, not because of their speeches, not because of their songs, but it was because of the way they lived. This new word creeps up, and it wasn't even a Christian word. It's what other people in Antioch started calling these people because they didn't know what to call them, because they looked so different, they talked so different, they acted different. Something had happened to them, and they were living their lives different than anybody else in Antioch, so they labeled them, and they said, these people they're Christians. Was not an endearing term. It was a label. And this is where they were first called Christians. And they were called Christians by the way that people were living. So I hope today doesn't find you in a room with other people who feel like, I think we're good enough. Why are you good enough? Well, I think we're probably doing better than most people. And if we're doing better than most people, then that's probably good. And I'm sure God probably appreciates that. Wrong room. Wrong room. Because I hope when you come into this place to gather, it inspires you and it encourages you, even for those who have doubted and questioned the commitment of the American church, that I pray that it ignites something in you to press on to more. Because I think we probably need to stop giving people excuses to not believe in God. I think you've heard this expression, I believe in God, just not organized religion. I don't think people would say that if church was actually doing the things that church was supposed to do. I would be okay with this, actually. I would be okay with people denying God, but saying this, I can't deny what the church is doing, because when I look at the church, they're always involved in some tough situations and always helping and serving and loving, and then they can't use the church as a scapegoat. They may still be mad at God, but at least they're not looking at the people who are serving God going, man, those people are just a bunch of hypocrites, because that would just be terrible. If they're mad at God, that's one thing, but let's keep the church out of it by the way that we live. And so to begin this journey, I think we're going to need to address our view of God and consequently ourselves and how we live in relationship to this God. Because I don't think the core issue is that we're like lukewarm or we're half-hearted or stagnant Christians. I think maybe it's just because we don't have an accurate view of God. So here's what I want to do. I want you to know God's never had an identity crisis. He's never wondered, like, gosh, I just hope people like me. I don't think that's really what he came. And he sent his son Jesus to humbly come as a servant. And here's some of the things that he did. And this is what I want to kind of look at this morning. I want to just kind of look at this world that God created. And these images that you're going to look at here, just go ahead and start playing them. These images that are on your screen, even at home, are from the Hubble telescope. Now here's the fascinating thing about this. These things here have been around for like thousands, millions of years, but just until recently, these are the first time that the human eye has seen them, right? So here's my question. Why would God create more than like 350 billion galaxies that most people never saw or even knew existed in human history? Do you think maybe he was like wanting us to go, wow, you're so unfathomably big? Or do you think God wanted us to respond by seeing images like that and go, man, who am I? R.C. Sproul writes, men are never duly touched and impressed with the conviction of their insignificance until they have contrasted themselves with the majesty of God. So, let's have some fun facts. Did you know that a caterpillar, right, has 228 separate, distinct muscles in its head? Why? That's a lot, right? It's quite a lot for a big bug. Did you know that the average elm tree has approximately 6 million leaves on it? I didn't get a picture of this one, but did you know that your heart generates enough pressure that it could squirt blood 30 feet? I haven't tried it. I don't recommend you do either. And I didn't want to get a picture or video of it, but I mean, that's incredible. I mean, could you just fathom how incredibly creative and diverse God is? I mean, he didn't have to, but I mean, he made hundreds of different kinds of bananas. Hundreds of different kinds of bananas. He didn't have to, but he did. Do you know in the Amazon, there's over 3,000 different species of trees within 1 square mile. 3,000 different varieties of trees in there. Here's another one. Do you know God why did he create so many different kinds of laughter? You know, I mean, if you have friends like this, think about it. Some of your friends wheeze when they laugh. I mean, they just wheeze. Some of them snort. You got any snorters in your life? I mean, and you're like, and you're like, come on now, right? Some snort. I mean, there's so many different ways to laugh. Some people laugh silently. I mean, and you're like, and you kind of get that, and you go, some people laugh loud. Some people are obnoxious when they laugh. And there's all these different ways, and we categorize all these different things as laughter. How about plants? I mean, think about it. These bad boys defy gravity by drawing water up. We have people here that work in the roofing industry, and their number one principle in working in the roofing industry is this: water goes down. Channel it. Plants defy that, and they take water up and they draw it into their veins. How about spiders? And I have one child that absolutely can't stand spiders. But they produce, 3 different kinds of silk, and when they build their webs, they can create 60 feet of silk in an hour, simultaneously producing oil on their feet so they themselves don't stick to their own web. Now, many of you don't like spiders. In fact, maybe you even hate spiders, but come on now, 60 feet an hour, that deserves a little respect. I mean, even if you can't stand the thing, right? I mean, that's incredible. I know you know those things, but have you ever just taken the time to marvel at it? Have you ever just taken the time to marvel at it? That those life-giving plants that we use come from these seeds, and some of them are watered, some of them don't even need water. Some of them have sunlight hit them, and then they begin to grow, and whatever. I'm not into the reasons or the how of all those things, or how all that happens, or why all that happens, and all this. I'm just looking at the artist and just wondering, why all the need for such diversity and creativity and sophistication in the universe and on earth and in our own bodies? And the point of all of it is for His glory. For His glory. And I don't know if we stop long enough to just wonder in awe and amazement. The psalmist said it like this in Psalm 119. It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands, and day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world." And this is why me and you are called to worship this God. His art, His handiwork, His creation all echo His gloriousness, because there is no one like Him. And I know you've probably heard all this before. I just don't want you to miss it. And so this morning, what I want us to do, and what I want you to do at home, is I want you to just pause and stop thinking about the reasons for God, and just marvel at God, because this creative God of the universe wants to meet you where you are. So please don't just wait in the lobby or in the exam room. I want to invite you to go see the doctor, because some of you have some things in your life that need to change. Some of you have people in your life that you've just been praying for, and maybe you just need to pause and take their name to this wildly creative, loving, and caring God of the universe. Some of you just need a break. Some of you just need to stop. Some of you just need to pause and get some stuff off your chest. So in the room and online this morning, I want to give you just this opportunity to explore in your heart and in your mind the presence of this God.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today online. If you enjoyed the content you saw today, we really think you might like being here in person with us at Gathering Point. And we have environments on Sunday for your elementary students, your preschoolers, and our nursery is open as well. So you can get all the information about joining us here in person at our website, gatheringpoint.church. We can't wait to see you soon.